Welcome.
To the joy of coding.
Hello. Oh wow, that's peaking hard. Hold on a second. Let me drop that gain, that mic gain right down. Hold on a second. Woo, better. All right. Hello everyone. Welcome to episode 349 of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. It's so good to have you here. Gonna be live hacking on some Firefox stuff. Gonna be trying to figure some stuff out. I hope you're ready for that. I apologize, my camera's maybe a little bit fuzzier. There's like more green screen artifacts than normal. I'm on a new computer and I hadn't set up the camera properly. Normally I have more control over the camera. I have some software to do that, but I had forgotten to set it up in time because I'm in the Toronto office today, so I'm not using my home setup, and I wasn't prepared. But here we are. Let me start by sharing my screen. Yeah, look at all those green screen artifacts. Hang on, let me see if I can fix that right now. Hold on a second. Let's try it. Boop, 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 boop. There, better. Okay. Let's talk about what's going on today. So it's December 6th, 2023, episode 349. We're so close to episode 350. Holy smokes. If I had the air horn sound effect, I would go like, pew, 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 pew. So you're just going to have to imagine. So close. We're going to have episode 350 next week. I didn't expect us to be able to get that into the year. You know, I thought maybe more holidays or interruptions or something would cause us to spill 350 over into 2024, but it turns out it's going to be next week, December the 13th. Presuming all goes well, we're scheduled to have episode 350 next week, and I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, there was some suggestion of doing kind of like a retrospective or a recap on the Windows jump list stuff that we basically spent the whole year working on. That's an interesting idea. Or maybe we could, I don't know, I could eat a bunch of spicy wings and try and write some tests while I eat the spicy wings. We did that a couple of milestones ago. Or I could just field questions from the audience. Who knows? If you've got ideas, send them in. There's a form at the bottom of the agenda called the Rate This Episode. It's like the Rate This Episode link. You should click on that, and that will allow you to send in your ideas. Now, right now, the agenda is not synchronizing because I don't have that script set up just yet. So you might have to wait until after the episode is done before you can send that stuff in, and I have a chance to update the agenda that's published. But just in case, I'm going to drop the link into the chat. Rate this episode link / suggestions on 350 things. There you go. You can let me know via that form. So what are we doing today? Well, let's dive in. Well, first of all, we do have some questions that came in from last week's episode, and I wanted to try and answer those. I forgot my preamble. No plan survives breakfast. Normally I start there. No plan survives breakfast. Today is no difference. Things with my camera aren't going necessarily correctly, and things with Air Mozilla haven't been going correctly today. I haven't been able to stream to it, but apparently I've just been given a new streaming key that I could use. And this might work, so I might suddenly be able to stream to Air Mozilla. We're going to try that in just a sec. But yeah, no plan survives breakfast. I think I know what's going to happen today, but things might go wrong. Might get sidelined, might get sidetracked. Hey, and we're streaming to Air... Oh, I was streaming to Air Mozilla briefly. There, it seems to be working. It's kind of flipping back and forth. I'm not entirely sure if it's working, but I'm just going to let Restream sit there in the background and try and sort it out. Okay, so anyways, no plan survives breakfast. I think I know what's going to go on today. Who knows? And, you know how it is. We're going to be capturing software development in the raw, and that means not a whole lot of this has been prepared. This is like, think of Bob Ross. Bob Ross kind of knew what he wanted to do whenever he was making a painting, but he was kind of making it up as he went along too, and that's the same idea that we've got here. So here we go. Here's some questions that came in last week, and I want to try and answer them. So, just as a reminder, this was less of a question and more of a point. they saw in the release notes, whoever wrote this in, of 120.0.1, that's a dot release on the release channel that went out, I think, last week, that the status bar bug you mentioned in episode 347 has been resolved. Yes, so the issue where sometimes the status panel at the bottom of like YouTube in particular would stick around when you full screen, someone fixed that. So, someone had been working on it, we landed the patch, and we decided it was safe enough to uplift to 120.0.1. So that's fixed now. Pretty happy about that. And it wasn't me. I didn't fix that. But I'll take the congratulations on behalf of that person. Second question, I think this was from the same person. Not a technical question. No, this was not from the same person. This was from a different person. Just curious about Mozilla career. If you're a regular Firefox contributor volunteer and an employee invited you to join the team, presumably that means like maybe referred you to a job posting, because they're talking about the interview process. So like there's a couple of parts to this. Let me finish the question. Will the interview process differ with applying online directly? For example, is taking an online coding challenge necessary for this kind of interview? Okay. So if you're a Firefox contributor and volunteer, you can inviting you to join the team may or may not mean inviting you, like referring you to a posting for a full-time position at Mozilla. I don't know if that's what you mean. I presume that that's what you mean. I'm going to assume, because like there are people who contribute to Firefox who I would consider to be part of the team, who are not paid employees. They're volunteer contributors. And we talk to them in Matrix, and we work with them in Bugzilla and Fabricator, and they might not have the badge to get into the offices. They might not, they're not necessarily on, our list of internal employees. But like in many ways, we will consider them part of the team. Like a team does not have to consist solely of paid staff. So that's one thing. But presumably you mean, inviting you to like, maybe referring you to a posting. That's what I'm going to presume this means. Will the interview process differ with applying online directly? No, I don't think so. Everyone gets the same interview for a role, regardless of whether or not they were referred, or whether they've been a long-time contributor, or whether they're fresh out of some other career or out of school or something else. Whoever's coming in the pipeline, we use the same interview materials and instruments for each candidate, and that's to try to avoid bias. Like, it's also very likely that if someone has referred you, they are not allowed to be part of your interview panel, because there's a conflict of interest there, because we have like referral bonuses, but also that person referred you because they know you very well, probably, chances are, or they've worked with you before, and that will color their impressions and bias their impressions whenever they're interviewing you, or if they're filling out their interview feedback. So oftentimes we'll have like people on the interview panel who can kind of sub in the event that someone goes, hey, I recognize that name, I've worked with this person before, I have a conflict of interest, I'm gonna sub out, or like I have a pre-existing history with this person, I need to sub out. And so we try to use the exact same interview process, and sometimes that involves, we use a tool called, I think, CoderPad. I think we used to use something called HackerRank. I don't know if we still do. But that's like one of the first screens that we apply. And that's our recruiters doing that, is we'll have the hiring managers put together various challenges and exercises. And, that will be our first screen. And, I don't believe if you're referred, that means that you skip that. I'm not entirely certain, actually. Let's see, what else is there to say about this? I don't know. I think I've answered the question. Is taking an online coding challenge necessary for this kind of interview? I will say that as people, as roles go higher and higher in the IC chart, it seems like we do less and less like whiteboard pair coding. Like we'll do more theoretical stuff. We'll do like code reviews together. We'll talk about architectural problems, usually, because if we're hiring for like a very senior role, these people aren't necessarily getting their hands in the dirt every single day. They're maybe doing more architecture work, or they're doing, maybe they're an engineering manager. They're like doing, helping to construct a team to do a particular thing. maybe they're coming in, maybe we're building up a team that has more strength in an area that Mozilla internally doesn't have strength for, in which case it's very difficult for us to measure for that particular strength, but we might talk to them about various considerations that we've come up with about that strength. But for like junior and sort of what I would call line level IC individual contributors, I do believe it's some coding exercises, but also interviews where we do code review, and we'll talk to you about your resume and put ask you for stories about various experiences that you've had in your other gigs or in your schooling. Hopefully that answers your question. What will you ask as an interview, or what makes you think the interviewer is? What will you ask as an interviewer, or what makes you think the interviewer is qualified? Maybe that's supposed to be interviewee. I mean, that's going to be different from role to role. Like, it depends. I'm going to guess that the answer is it depends. If we're hiring someone who's for a security position, we're going to be asking a lot of security questions. We're going to be asking, where's the security bug in this patch, or where's if we're hiring for performance, where's the performance issue here? Let's talk about various ideas for how we could improve the performance of this particular thing, or maybe we're hiring for a front-end developer. Like, let's work with a designer and let's talk about how you would implement such and such, or how you would refactor this, or it's hard to say because we don't have like a rote bag of questions that we ask every single person who comes in. We will craft questions for the role to try and one of the first things we do is we identify what things we're looking for a role, and that's usually like listed in the job description. If you look at the job listing, it'll tell you what we're looking for, and then we will develop questions to try and evaluate for that, and then that's what we will ask. And we have a rubric that tries to we try and not just follow a gut that person passed, we try and use a rubric to de-bias as much as we can. And we also generally have a fairly broad panel, so different people interviewing to assess different components, different things, different strengths. And then we all kind of pool our notes and we come to a conclusion with the hiring manager. That's kind of how it works at a high level. But again, this is too general a question. It really depends on the role. Smurf D says you should do Wacky Fridays to ask completely off-topic questions. Do Wacky Fridays to ask completely off-topic questions. Sure. On Fridays, we ask totally wacky questions during our interviews. There you go. So I wanted to give, those were the questions for last week. Hopefully that answered your questions. I mean, every team is going to also have their different approaches. And again, we craft the pipeline per role. And we might reuse some of the documentation from a previous similar role, but we will craft the interview materials and the pipeline and the panel, everything for a particular role or a series of roles, and then send people through. That's how it works. Okay, I want to give an update on Windows jump lists. So that is the thing that we were working on for over a year. And good news, everyone. Good news, everyone. I wish I had my soundboard. I'd hit the Professor Frink button. I think I had that. But good news, everyone. That it's on by default. If you are using Firefox Nightly on Windows, then the preference to enable the new Windows jump list backend, the off main thread one, is enabled by default. And I want to actually start today. Let's look at some hang data to try and analyze the impact that we've had so far. Now, we've only been out there for a couple of days, so that we haven't been able to gather a whole lot of data. And hang data itself, I think this is hang data is something that we get by default from Nightly users, and Nightly users tend to have, in our experience, more powerful machines. These are people who tend to, if they're writing Nightly software, they probably care about having a fast, modern machine. And so that's not a hard and fast rule. There are always exceptions to that rule, but we've noticed there's a bit of a skew on nightly to have more powerful hardware. So this gives us a little bit of a shape, our hangs here, on like what people are experiencing, at least on nightly. But it doesn't necessarily reflect what people would experience on beta and release. But it's like a low resolution snapshot. And what I wanted to do was look at this is main thread hang stacks matching December 1st. So the Windows jump list backend stuff was enabled by default. Oh, someone named Pramadito says, keep up the good coding. Hey, you too, Pramadito. This was landed and enabled by default on December 1st at 1:58 PST, which means that the build on December 1st may or may not have included the new jump list backend by default. Now, I haven't actually looked at any of this stuff. I wanted to do some sniffing around. So this is like all of the hang data. It's not just the backlist stuff or the jump list stuff. So let's do a quick naive search for jump list. So we still see some stuff in here for the jump list. I'll notice that the counts and the total time. This is across 422 separate hangs across all of our nightly users. The total time that we were hanging is about 240 seconds. That's across everybody. Not one person was waiting 240 seconds. It's like if you average it out, 240. Oh, whoops. 240 seconds divided by 422. Like the average is like half a second. That's not amazing. A main thread hang, that's bad. But let's see what's going on here. So in Windows jump lists, we're seeing that the obtain and cache favicon routine is still doing main thread IO. That's interesting. Because I'm pretty sure at least some of that is operating off of the main thread. There's a pre-existing bug, it looks like, for this hang. Favicon obtain cached icon file has been showing up in BHR for causing hangs. This was 5 years ago, we noticed that. Now, one thing I want to point out right away is that like our top hang, because like these are ranked in order of most severe to least severe, does not involve like the Win32 APIs. We moved all that stuff off of the main thread. That's good. In fact, if we look at like the previous day, so that's in November the 29th, we'll probably see more jump list stuff here. Yeah, when we add list to build, there's like way more hangs here. Like each of these hangs involves the legacy jump list stuff, and there's a lot more going on. Here's the one that we've already identified. This one still exists and was existing back in, with the old backend as well. But all of these hangs, get shell link, add list to build, get shell link again, all of these are gone. So let's go back to the most recent data. Like there shouldn't be anything about get shell link in here. Yeah, empty. So an entire class of hangs got destroyed, which is good. Now, there's more to do here. This one, I'd like us to maybe take a look at this soon. This might be worth trying to fix. This is something we've known for a while. This is a specific set of the main thread IO done by jump list, someone mentions. And this is the old chunk. Check if the cached icon file already exists. So like obtaining some of this is already async, is what I'm noticing. And so like I wonder if what we could do, because like what this is doing is saying, hey, do I have an icon file for a particular URL? If so, then I don't need to do anything. Or let's stat it and determine if we need to refresh it. Otherwise, go and fetch it. And I suspect we could move all of that off of the main thread. And then we could eliminate this set of hangs, and then we're really off to the races. It looks like check for removals is also. We're seeing very few hangs, but they're here. And check for removals. It looks like we're hanging purely on the. This is interesting. Yeah, the user was interacting in 13 of the hangs. CPU was high on one of the hangs, but it looks like in check for removals, just the call to it, we hung inside there. I wonder what, I'm just trying to remember what this does again. Not a whole lot. Like, we construct a promise and then we offload it. So I don't know if we could do much about this one. We should keep an eye out for this. This one's about loading the actual module for Jumpless. This is like pulling it out of the Omnijar. That's interesting. And that's during startup idle, I see. And then this is like a long tail. But like I think the most serious one is this one, the Favicon helper one. And Crushed Optimus asks, would this be addressed by the smarter Favicon clearing bug? Well, you know what? So Crushed Optimus is referring to this bug that I filed. I may have even filed it on stream. I did it 7 days ago at 10:32 PST, 10, 11, 12, 1. Yeah, we were streaming. I was streaming when I did this. Sorry, I'm just seeing some activity from what's going on here. Basically, yeah, every time we repopulate a jump list, we run an async job to clear the favicons from the disk before potentially repopulating them. This could probably be smarter because these icons are not super likely to change over time, especially for users that have fairly repetitive browsing habits. So yeah, like it feels like this sort of thing could be cleared by this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to wire this up. Ideally, whatever solution we provide here would also take care of bug such and such and move all of this work off of the main thread. And so I'm gonna put that in the C also. And does anything else call obtain cached icon file? Favicon helper. What is, so it's just jump list stuff. What is this? NS data obj. Oh, this one also does it, and this is for excuse me. I decided just then to choke. I decided just then to choke on saliva. Not my. Apologies, not my smartest move. Get file contents internet shortcut. So this also uses obtain cached icon file. But what's interesting about all of this is that this is ostensibly a background task, or it could be. This is very fire and forget. Like if we look at how we're using it elsewhere, Jumpless Builder, obtain and cache favicon. This is very fire and forget. Like, because as I recall, obtain cached, where is it? Cached icon file, that's the one. Let's take a look at the, it's not defined in WebIDL, that's interesting. Obtain and cache favicon, right. So this thing Returns the file, local file system path for the favicon for a page hosted at favicon URL. If we have written one to the disk before, if we have not, then a background thread retrieves the favicon, will write to the disk, and NS error not available will be thrown. Right. So like there's a fire and forget basically. What would be nice actually is if this was fully off main thread. Obtain and cache favicon. Calls us again when we build the list. Custom descriptions. Yeah, if we could like do that, make that asynchronous, fully asynchronous, so that if it can't find it, then it goes and gets it, or attempts to go and get it, and then resolves with the path. That would be good. And then the clearing, the clearing that we do down where? Get rid of the old icons. Async delete all favicons from disk occurs when we populate. Yeah, like this should probably be smarter. Where did this come from? We were doing this in the legacy jump list builder as well. And, you know, we should probably, instead of like destroying all of these icons and then refetching them or whatnot, that we should only delete the ones that don't make sense, that we don't have anymore. If we can keep a mapping of the ones that we're still continuing to use and remove those from the total set and then just delete the ones that aren't being used anymore, that would be smarter. With fire and forget. So, like, you know, what I meant is that, like, the, this thing, what was it? Obtain cached favicon file. Obtain cached icon file is kind of fire, not fire and forget, but it will return you a value that is either the path, the local path to the favicon, or it's unavailable, and it will give you an error code, meaning that eventually, if it's not found you've kicked off a task to go and get it, so that a subsequent call might actually give you the path. So I shouldn't say it's fire and forget, but it does like sort of queue up a job that happens off of the main thread. And what I would like to do is to make this entirely off main thread, so that you know, other callers like this one, like what? There's a runnable. The runnable happens, I think, whenever it's done. Runnable. Execute the inner thread when the favicon cache is available. Yeah, like I. This is what I would recommend. Yeah, that's what I would recommend we do, is that we like have obtain cached icon file, do all of the work in the IO thread, and then have all of the callers of obtain cached icon file presume that a result is not going to come synchronously. It will come asynchronously. I mean, notice that this one usage of obtain cached icon file isn't making use of the return value here. And the only one who is making use of the return value is jump list builder and legacy jump list builder. So if we were to remove the legacy jump list builder, or like maybe we could implement a new version, like obtain cached icon file async or something, or make this one the legacy one, and then have the jump list builder and the new jump list builder and data obj use our like a new implementation that's fully async. Then we could also change how we expose it to the front end to make that fully async, and then we're in better shape. Smurfd says, avoid white backgrounds. I turn into Frosty the Snowman. What does that mean? I need a white background. What the heck? Oh. Yeah, I don't know why that is. There's something's going on with my camera. Is there like another filter on here? Preview, screenshot. There's like I can't explain it. I've got various filters on. It's not like the opacity is different. Blending method, default, blending mode, normal, add, subtract. Nope, nope, don't want that. Blending mode. No, come on, gang. Normal, there we go. And scale filtering, order, transform, order. Set color, copy filters. Yeah, I don't know why it's just a little bit different from what I've got filtered with it. Like it's almost like there's a little bit of opacity applied, which I don't understand. I don't know what to tell you. I'll learn. This doesn't happen too often. The camera that I've got is not the one I normally use. All right, let's not get distracted. Let's keep going. So that's the Windows jump list update. I don't actually want to work on those things today. I was hoping we could look at something else entirely. We've done a lot of jump list stuff. It's time for a break, and let's work on something else. What I wanted to do was actually something I'm not sure if you've ever seen me do on a stream before, which is to work on a research document. So what that means is I'm not actually going to be writing much in the way of landable patches. I'm trying to do some front running so that someone else, maybe myself or maybe someone else, could land patches to do a thing. I'm going to do some scoping out of the land, the topology, to figure out the practical ways forward for something. And in this case, what I wanted to talk about, or what I wanted to research, was Safari profiles. Okay, so what's going on? According to the macOS Sonoma, and macOS Sonoma came out when? Sonoma came out 2 months ago. So it's the most recent version of macOS, I believe. Safari got a notion of user profiles. Now, it's not, if you're familiar with Firefox user profiles, or Chrome user profiles, or Edge user profiles, Safari user profiles are very different, or they're significantly different, I would say. Let's read about what that is, what the difference is. Keep your browsing separate for topics like work and personal with different profiles in Safari. This is not a Safari ad, but this is interesting. Profiles help you separate your history, extensions, tab groups, cookies, and favorites. You can quickly switch between profiles as you browse. So that is the sales pitch. Let's see if we can experience it ourselves. No. So I think by default, I don't see any profiles here. I don't see a profile selector. Let's pretend this is my personal profile. So I'm going to add a bookmark to the CBC. Why not? How does one add a bookmark in Safari? Add bookmark, sure. The CBC. Now, suppose I wanted to make this a different user profile. Well, how do I do that? I'm basically going to be learning as you get to watch me learn how to use Safari and do look down your Mac at Target. No. Well, how do you use profiles? Is it in settings maybe? Privacy, advanced, general, tabs, autofill, passwords, search, security, privacy, websites. Maybe it's under advanced. How do you... Okay. Safari user profiles. The profiles you create on Safari Mac OS. Create a profile. From the menu bar in Safari, choose Safari. Create profile. Which version of Mac OS is this? Ventura. Which one do I have? What's Mac OS Ventura? Oh, I'm one behind. That's why. I don't have Sonoma. Okay, so we can't actually do this today. I need to upgrade to Sonoma in order to test this out. Okay, well, I guess I'll have to do this next time. I don't want to upgrade to Sonoma in front of y'all, and I can't do this until I can test this out. So we're going to fall back. We're going to do something else. What was I going to do instead? All right. Let's figure out this favicon thing. That seems important. Maybe we can nip this in the bud. Whoops. I need Sonoma to do that, and I have Ventura. Maybe next time. So, let's try to get rid of the favicon hangs instead. Okay. That's a bummer. I thought that was going to be pretty neat. You know, we get to explore someone else's product and see how they did some stuff. All right, well, that's going to happen, and I will save it for an upcoming episode of The Joy of Coding, and we'll get through it together. Okay, so the favicon hangs instead. What do I want to do? Well, I do want to know whether or not we can do this as a one-shot. So clearing the old favicons from the list and gathering individual favicons. They're two ends of the spectrum. There's like the cleanup, and then there's the gathering. I want to understand, are there ways that we can be smarter about the cleanup? So async delete all favicons from the disk. What it does is it just goes to the profile directory, ignore recent. Oh, I see. We can't call now main thread, so we reuse a pref. So cache's value here. Icon no delete. Run. Loop through each directory and remove all ICO files found. But if we're ignoring recent ones, which I think we are, check to make sure the icon wasn't just recently created. If it was created recently, don't delete it yet. Okay, and is that what we're currently doing? Yeah. So maybe that's not as bad. Well, basically every time. Hang on. So it turns out there's more nuance here than that. Despite the name, async delete all favicons from disk doesn't always delete all favicons from the disk. It takes an optional Boolean argument for whether or not recently modified favicons should be skipped when clearing. Both the old and new jump list backends pass that argument so that recently created favicons are not removed. And what's the age? How does this work? It's get ICO cache seconds timeout plus 600. What is this? Obtains the jump list ICO cache timeout in seconds pref. Only obtain the setting at most once per from the pref service. In the rare case that two threads call this at the same time, it is no harm. We'll simply obtain the pref twice, and the taskbar list prefs are currently updated via pref observers, so I think this should suffice. Interesting. So the ICO timeout in seconds. Hang on. It doesn't look like it's actually set. That's interesting. It falls back to one full day. Okay, so it falls back to any favicons. It looks like, and did I see like a fudge factor being added? like some 600 more seconds. This is in seconds units. So 600 more seconds are added to the end, and that's 10 minutes. Because 60, this is seconds, so 60 times 10, 600. So 1 day and 10 minutes from the time of gathering, we will clear out any favicons that are 24 hour plus 10 minutes old. And haven't been touched. It's all, as in, since being modified on the disk. Since so I don't think we're continuously writing favicons. We have this other thing, the favicon helper. Where is it? Obtain cached icon file. Oh, I see. The icons are only updated maximum once per day. File mod time is greater than. Okay. And it also looks like we don't gather favicons. We won't update a favicon until it's at least 24 hours old. I should put references to these things. That are over such and such. And then the other one we're just looking at was here. We won't update. Okay. Okay. So could we make this smarter? How, like, what's a smarter? There's something kind of, I won't say elegant, but this is a very simple solution. You know, we don't have a manifest or anything. We don't have to do comparisons. Is it elegant? No, it's simple. I like simple. It does have this sort of like assumption that the jump list stuff is going to run at least within 10 minutes of the last check. Within 10 minutes of the last check of running this. Otherwise, it's going to clear everything. Oh, but it's the last step. So let's say it's been over 48 hours since the last time we ran the cache, or we ran the jump list population stuff. We will then update the cached favicons on the IO thread, and then we will run this routine. And because that's on the same thread, it's only after all of those icons have been written that we will run the clearing routine. So it would just delete all the old ones. Okay. The ones that we don't care about. I kind of don't mind that. I kind of, like, is this an elegant solution? solution to maintaining the icon files? Not really, but it's simple. But it's fairly simple. So that's kind of nice. I don't want to accidentally make things more complicated by adding a more sophisticated icon management system here. Molly, did you have any suggestions on how we might make this smarter? This icon clear out maintenance stuff smarter? Okay. So in the meantime, maybe we can figure out more about this obtaining the favicons. Obtaining the cached favicon. Maybe we can modify this function. Whoa, what? Favicon sync. Maybe we could make obtain cached icon file async is my thinking. All right. Let us look at our Windows build here. Oh shoot, I don't think I have a up-to-date artifact binary build, do I? Gang, I'm sorry. I was not prepared. I thought I'd be able to do this Safari profile thing. And now I don't have a Windows build ready to go, and that's going to take a while, I think, because it's been a while since I built. All right. Well, at least I can kind of write up the plan in here. I think what we can do here is that we can introduce a new method in favicon helper, and it'll be called obtain cached icon file async. We can then transition the new jump list backend and the this usage here, which already ignores the synchronous return value, to that new method. The new method can then do the statting and existence testing and statting on the IO thread rather than the main thread. And then the return value would need to be different. Well, would it? Return value. Obtain cache favicon. What's the return value currently? It's just an NS result. Okay. The return value would be a promise, or maybe just takes a runnable that it will get the path to the saved favicon, or like a return value if something has gone wrong, and call into a runnable with the with either the path to the cached favicon or an NS result reporting what has gone wrong. Okay, and then we can update, what was it? Where Where's the function? Jump list builder. Obtain and cache favicon. NSI jump list builder. Obtain and cache favicon to return a promise instead and work off and use our new backend. Right, so obtain and cache favicon, where is it? Here, would return a promise. And then the usage, here, we would just need to await it here. We'd probably need to do it outside of this map. Well, that's kind of awkward. I think there's a way, actually, of doing async map. I think I read something recently where you can do that, but like, what was it? Array.prototype.map. What was it? From async creates a shell, copy inside of an async iterable or array. Yeah, so like this is something that we'd probably want to use instead here. From async, and you would await it. Let's look at an example here. Await array from async. That would be your array. Equals array from async. Await. Yeah. There you go. That's what you'd want. From the array like. That would be your result. And we could await here. Return icon path, otherwise it's just the empty string. Okay, that sounds like a good plan to me. Use our new backend. I'm gonna save that comment. Submit only my new comment. I clobbered myself. Yeah, this build's gonna run for a while. I think we're sunk. We're sunk trying to try and fix that now. Let's do something else. What's a good thing to work on? Give me a quick sec. Let me take a look at my work plate. Oh, all right. Well, there's this other thing. It's kind of boring, but this is some work that I've been doing to try and update some tests. You're gonna help me update some tests, gang. Woo! This is what I would have been doing anyway, so it falls within the mandate of Joy of Coding. Do you have any TUI music player recommendations? Currently using CMUS and it's kinda meh, says a business goose. Oh god, what did I join? Tests, yeah. Sorry. I'm falling back like twice here to a thing that I was just gonna do anyways. You're capturing what I would do at my desk, and I'm gonna be working on converting one type of test into another type of test. And in terms of TUI, I think TUI is like terminal. TUI acronym. I think what a business goose is asking about is not the Touristic Union International. Stand for in computer. Tangible user interface? Digital information through the physical. What? This? Is this what you're talking about, a business goose? You're talking about a music player that looks like this? Because I think what you want is a jukebox. Or maybe a boombox. If you mean like a terminal music player, I've never used one. So, oh, yeah, I don't have any recommendations. If you've got recommendations for a business goose for a good terminal music player, better than CMUS, drop it in the chat. I don't have one for you. This is pretty cool, though. Look at this. This is like projection onto kinetic sand, I think. That's cool. All right, anyways. Test conversion. What's going on? Well, we have this type of test for the new tab page called, it's using a framework called Mocha and Chai, and it's running them within Node, and that's great, except that there are certain things that these modules that are being tested do that Node does not know about, like the privileged stuff that Firefox privileged JavaScript can do. And so, the people who worked on these tests were doing like a bunch of fancy dependency injection to make it possible to run those tests but with Node. But the way that it does dependency injection is not compatible with ES6 modules, which is what we're converting all of our modules to. So our solution for now is to convert all of these tests from like Mocha, Chai tests to XPC shell tests. These are the ones that we use for unit testing JavaScript stuff in Mozilla code. So these, it's not like the modern cool Node thing, but it's going to be running within SpiderMonkey as opposed to Node and V8. And that means that it gets access to all of the XPCOM gunk that was originally being dependency injected. So we can skip all that, and then we can convert the module. And one of the things that we need to convert, I'm going to brace yourselves. This is not going to be a fun bug to work on. I've already done this a couple of times. It is a slog, but we're going to get through it. Telemetry feed uses the injection system, and telemetry feed is the module that we're trying to convert to an ES6 module. I need to convert its test, telemetry feed test.js, into an XPC shell test, and I've just started. The test is massive. Look at all of this stuff that's commented out. This is the entire test file, and I've just started. Oh yeah, there's a conflict in here that I need to resolve. I think I ended up already resolving this because I didn't need this stuff. Describe telemetry feed. Yeah, it's already down here where I fixed it. So I can just get rid of this. And I'm going to amend that conflict. I think was a leftover from a botched conflict resolution. So I wasn't in the midst of doing a conflict resolution. I missed one basically, and so I have to amend it. It was actually part of the commit. Business Goose is amazed by this behemoth of a test file. Yeah. We like our tests. We write a lot of tests, and the people who worked on these tests wrote a big old test file. Okay, so what are we testing? So telemetry feed is the mechanism within NewTab that knows how to ingest events on the NewTab page for things like, how long did it take to paint? Telemetry on how many rows do people tend to have for their top sites, stuff like that. And then it packages them all up and it sends it to our telemetry ingestion through our telemetry ingestion pipeline. We're actually in the midst of converting our telemetry ingestion pipeline for the NewTab page from something called Ping Center, which is like this bespoke thing that the NewTab team created for telemetry ingestion because it was faster than our legacy telemetry. We're going from that bespoke telemetry ingestion pipeline to something called Glean. We've been trying to convert most of our telemetry to a backend called Glean. As something that we're trying to slowly do across the entire code base. A Business Goose says, expect 1 to equal 1 and move on. Yeah, lovely. So what have I got here? Let's start at the top of the test. I'm importing a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of stuff that we're currently not yet using, but we eventually will. Like some constant stuff. I'm keeping a lot of what existed in the test. I want to keep the coverage and test a lot of the same stuff. But the way we go about this is I can't do a machine translation of these Mocha Chai tests to XPC shell because it's not a mechanical change. This requires me to evaluate each test and figure out how to say it and whether or not it's valuable to say as an XPC shell test. And I think it would probably take me about as long to do by hand as it would to write some kind of script to do it by machine. And the whatever the script did would probably be flawed. So the first thing we do is we do a setup. We like set up. There are like some of the ingestion pings use schemas, and we need to test those schemas still, even though we've been switching off of Ping Center. I believe we haven't completely finished the transition, so we still need to make sure that we're adhering to the schemas that are expected. And I test that you can just construct a telemetry feed and that like the various properties. Like this is stuff that I'd ported over. I test that I can load impressions. I guess this was something I also ported over. And before I got into the init stuff, because there's like a bunch of initialization that was being tested in here, I wanted to test the schema validation stuff, because I've never used JavaScript schemas before, JSON schemas. I noticed we're starting to use this more and more in the front end, where if we're ever talking to backend services, we will define a JSON schema for the protocol that both can refer to, and then we will validate the schema at runtime to ensure that the server endpoint that we're talking to is adhering to it, just in case something goes wrong. We handle it, and we have a strict understanding of what we expect the inputs and outputs to be across the API layer. And if you're curious about how we're defining the schema, like it's not something that Mozilla invented. This is something called JSON schema. This is used by a bunch of different places, like GitHub and I guess Microsoft, which is also GitHub, but also Postman. And like we've been using it in a couple of different places in our own code base. If you look for files that end in schema.json, we see a bunch of schemas have all been like defined here. And we can let's look at one, for example. Cookie banner rule schema. So when we're downloading the rules for how to block cookie banners, this is the schema when we, I guess, make the request. I think. I don't know. This is my first time seeing this thing. But presumably that's how it works. Daily Cohen said, I thought AI was supposed to replace software engineers. I mean, is this the sort of thing that you could teach a machine to do? You'd still need to review it. I mean, maybe. The hard part isn't writing the test. The hard part is making sure that you're testing the same stuff. And I don't know if a machine could do that. Maybe it could. I don't know. All right, where was I? Test add session. So this is testing one of those schemas. So I like create an instance of the telemetry feed. I do some like scaffolding here. I create a ping, a session ping, and then I validate that the ping matches the schema. And I believe, if I understand correctly, if I remember correctly, let me just build with artifact. I'm pretty sure this is failing last I looked at it, and I wanted to figure out why. So you and I, as you as in the collective you, whoever's watching this and I are going to try and figure out why it's failing. Okay, so let's start by running the test. Browser, components, new tab, test, xpgc shell, test, telemetry feed.js. Danny Colin writes, AI is supposed to replace software engineers? I don't think so. If anyone's feeling worried about AI replacing software developers, historically, that's not what's happened with tools like what's being produced by like the Copilot things. It might. I suspect it's going to be more additive. I think it's going to be an assistive technology, maybe make us more efficient. Maybe, I don't know. I don't think it's going to replace. Like if you look, the quality is only okay, and I think you still need that. You'd need a human to review everything a machine wrote at the very least. Like I would not trust a machine to review what a machine wrote. Not for production software. Heck no. Okay, yeah, instances of undefined type are not supported. The profile creation, this is the last thing that I had looked at before I called it a day yesterday, is that this session ping, which is our schema, is here. There's something in here about the profile creation date. It's supposed to be a type integer, and it looks like I was noticing that our creation date currently is being reported as being undefined, and so we need to figure out why that is. So what I want to do actually is I want to go to telemetry environment. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run this again, but with --JS debugger. I'm going to go to about debugging in my instance of Firefox here. JS debugger port equals 6080. So we're going to run on 6080. And we're going to launch our debugger. So we've got now a debugger for our XBC shell test. Ta-da! Okay, so what I want to do is I want to go to telemetry environment. Oh boy, it's not there. We might have to wait until we've reached like ad setup. Okay, telemetry environment, there it is. And current profile, current environment, creation date, where is it? Here. This is where I'm going to go. I'm going to... So we did get here. Where are we? We're in test add session. We're in here. So update profile. We're here. We're trying to figure out how old the profile is. So we're going to go in here. And sorry, how does this work? We're calling profile age. Okay, if not profile equals profile dir profile. Okay, so there it is. And if we already have it, I think that's a cache, so we don't have the cache, so we're going to init profile age. We're going to try and load this times.json file and try and read it. Guess what? It doesn't exist. Could not open file. Times.json doesn't exist. Okay, that's the problem. So we need to find the part that writes times.json. Danny Cole says Mike's rationalizing his fear right now. Am I rationalizing my fear? What am I doing? I'm not afraid of the AI stuff. Like, I'm afraid of it being abused. I'm afraid of us not paying attention. Like, I think there's a lot of hype right now about like, oh, it's gonna turn rogue and launch nukes and blow us all up or something. You know, we've all seen the Terminator, and we've all seen, you know, various episodes. You know, the legend of the rogue AI is part of, like, I think the collective consciousness. Like, we are all aware of similar stories of like an AI going rogue, and then like, oh shoot, we take over the world. I think it's actually a lot more insidious than that. I think the real risk is we project more authority on AI than it deserves, or that like AI can sound authoritative without being actually authoritative, and we are, I think, as humans, we tend to trust things that sound like it's authoritative if it's coming from like a what we think of as an authoritative source, like, I don't know, Google or Microsoft. Like, we'll trust it, especially if it's speaking our language and like using natural language, when, you know, some of that trust and some of that authority may be unfounded. I think there was like a classic example. Someone was asking Bing's AI assistant whether or not Australia existed, and it was confidently saying like, no, it doesn't exist. No, it does not exist. Like, I think that was a real result. That's a problem. That's like a funny example, but there are other more insidious examples where like biases in how it was trained can leak into how it responds and answers. And so it's like garbage in, garbage out, right? Like if these things aren't trained properly and the training is not well understood, then you may end up exacerbating pre-existing biases and problems within society. And then if you start like delegating a lot of authority to these things, now you've got a real problem, because now you've hidden those biases beneath a veneer of like black box AI. I don't know. It's what the AI said, so I guess it goes. Like you're suddenly relinquishing responsibility. Accountability is kind of like being evaporated. You've got the scapegoat of like, it's what the algorithm said, and I think that's the real risk. I'm not worried about nuclear war, not from AI anyways. Okay, where was I? Profile age. So what writes this thing? The profile service creation log. Create times internal. Who calls that? And create profile. So whenever I call do get profile, because I did that earlier, like earlier in this test, I called do get profile. I thought that was supposed to like synchronously create one. XPC shell. Let's read the documentation, but let's also take a look at the implementation of function do get profile. Returns a directory with a profile service and return the directory as an NSI file. Python sets this environment for us. We create a provider. Set. We need to update the crash events to the profile. Profile initialize. Profile do change. Profile after change. The message. Is there anything in here about like times.json or creation profile age? Notify profile after change. So what's ultimately this going to do? Is it going to create a profile? Because I don't think so. I think what it does is it like creates a profile directory, registers the directory service. How do we get like do get profile? Maybe we should look for other tests that use profile age. Are there any tests that do that? Aha! Test profile age. Do get profile. Creates a unique profile directory to use for the test. We create a unique one with dummy profile. Let times. I can't really say what this will be. Make directory. So like, do get profile. How come this works? Time. Await times dot created. Await profile age profile. So you pass it a folder. Profile age. The path to the profile directory. Otherwise, do that. So just by making the profile. So how does it do this? Because like created times won't exist. What creates those times.jsons? The file times. Oh. Indicates the file was missing or broken. In this case, we want to record the first use time as now. That's what I should have. So what's going on here? Let me run this again. That's what I should have returned earlier. Let's rerun our test. Should have paid more attention. Yeah, telemetry environment. Where's telemetry environment? Here. Okay, step inside. Step inside. We're gonna go here. We're gonna init profile age. So we catch. We're gonna create a new profile age impl times equals times. So first use, we're gonna write the times. Write times. Write JSON. Okay, so we wrote it. And now like that's interesting. So these update profile. So the first time that this resolves, like this profile set promise, return the promise, init profile age. We return this object, but that object we might not have written first use. Let's get this underscore created, compute and persist created, compute and persist. This will attempt to get it. Yeah, I think what we basically need to do is like I think telemetry environment, the very first time it runs update profile, if the profile hasn't been created before, these will all be undefined. Let's see if I can prove it. I'm going to do await telemetry environment update profile. Let's run this without the JS debugger. Oh, what? Telemetry update profile. What is this defined on? Environment cache. Ah. Oh boy. So environment cache. How do I flush the cache? Delayed init. Register change listener. Can I like flush the cache? Or how do I get access to the cache? So what is this thing? There's telemetry environment, uninitialized, get experiment active, shut down, test watch preference, test reset, test clean restart. What do we use environment cache for? The global is the global environment. Global environment. Get global. reset. Test reset. Let's see what happens if I do that. Telemetry environment dot test reset. Because we may have actually found an interesting bug here. Nope, profile creation date still undefined. Oh, is this test reset? Reset. That is not the same thing. Get global. I'm gonna do the thing I did before. I'm gonna do this. Update profile. I'm gonna say get global. Whoops. Update profile. Does this pass? We may have found an interesting bug here. Get global is not... What? Get global. Oh, it's a function. How do I get the global? It may have been encapsulated from me. Encapsulation is good, but I guess it doesn't want me to like reach in. How do I get profile age? How do I get current environment dot profile dot creation date? Tests. Test. Telemetry environment. Here we go. Do you get profile, spoof graphics, register fake sysinfo, telemetry environment, testing. Oh, what's that? Environment testing. Just a testing utility. Is there anything about profiles in here? Profile reset date. Spoof profile reset. Check profile section. Now, who calls that? Spoof profile reset is one. What's this other one? Check profile section. It's down here. Check environment data. Test telemetry environment. Okay. Oh, and it spoofs a profile reset. That's interesting. Yeah, okay, so let's see if this fixes it. If it does, like, I think there's an interesting, like I said before, I think there's an interesting maybe bug here where, spoof profile reset, where on the very first time a profile is created, the environment might be wrong. I think that's worth testing. Profile creation is still undefined. Get out of here. What's going on here? Now, okay. What's going on? Utils profile dir. That's the one that we expect. Profile reset. So we're going to write the JSON. Okay, and now we're going to go to telemetry environment and creation. Yeah, we're gonna here. We're gonna go here. Down here. Right, and that should be the same place. Profile. That is the same path. Good. And we're going to try and load that times path. Good. We got the times. And we're going to construct. So creation date. What's creation date? Those are numbers. And then we're going to try and convert those. Okay. So you'd think then that over here in test telemetry feed, by the time we get here, oh, is that after this test runs? Somehow. That would make some sense. Do we need to do like await delayed init? What is delayed init? What does delayed init do? Okay, this stuff. So we ran spoof profile reset. So I would expect profile creation date in setup to be a non-zero value. No, incorrect. Incorrect. So something is not calling. What was it? Update profile. Over here in environment cache. Happens once. That happens here in get global. Get global happens anytime we try and get the telemetry environment. Do we ever delete the global? Test clean restart. Yeah, during every single test, it looks like. At least the ones that probably matter. Profile. Let's see what happens if I wait for that. Profile creation date is now set to something. Okay, now we have a different thing that's probably undefined here, but at least here let's dump ping JSON stringify ping null. So this is what it is. What it is. So yeah, now we have the profile creation date actually set to something. So something is undefined, and it shouldn't be. I think schema validator, like the validate, will also return errors. Let valid errors. Dump errors. JSON stringify errors. What are the errors? Oh, it doesn't. Exception. Undefined type. None of these are undefined. What's your problem? Let's take a look at the schema. And then I think I'm going to call it session ping. So what are the required fields? Add-on version, locale, session ID, page, user prefs. Oh, there it is, user prefs, action, and perf. Okay. And we've got those. So add-on version. Add-on version needs to be of type string, which it is. Locale needs to be of type string, which it is. User prefs needs to be of type integer, that is an integer. Session ID needs to be of type string, okay. Page, probably type string, yes, and needs to be one of these. About home, wait, what? Type array, boolean, number, object, string, null? That can't be right. I'm gonna say type string. That looks like a mistake. It's got to be one of these. And action needs to be of type const activity stream session. Yeah, this value must be that value. And then perf must be a type object, which has the following things: load trigger type and is preloaded. Load trigger type and is preloaded. It has of load trigger type. I think this needs to also be string. I think that might be part of my problem here. Load string, first window opened, and then is preloaded is boolean, is preloaded boolean, and then load trigger timestamp. It's an integer, yeah. And profile creation date should also be an integer. Okay, let's try that again with our new schema, modified schema. Instances of undefined type are not supported. Instances of undefined type are unsupported. What are you talking about? Validating. Where am I? So here, when I attempt to validate, so, okay, here we go. Okay, and then I think I'm gonna call it. We're just gonna go kind of deep. But we're gonna see where this thing is failing out on us. Okay. Oh yeah, I don't need these anymore. I do want to file that bug about the profile creation stuff, but I'll do that in a moment. Probably outside of the validate. If schema is true, No, schema is false. Raw instance type. Object. So I think I want to set a breakpoint here. And instance type of instance. Yeah, I'm going to set a breakpoint here for when we hit our exception. Okay, so we've hit our exception. And raw instance type is undefined. Instance is undefined. And what are we being called on? Validate key session duration. Session duration. Which should be of type integer. Properties. So it's complaining that instance type raw instance type is undefined. Which is the type of the instance, and instance is what's being passed as what? What is it? The first argument. And the first argument is instance key, session duration, and session duration is undefined. That's why. Session duration is undefined, and the reason that we're hitting this and we're not seeing it in the log is because when you JSON output something with an undefined value, it gets truncated, it doesn't get included. So session duration, that's the problem. Session duration is undefined. Now what sets session duration? Telemetry feed, session duration. Create session event, session duration. Create session end event. Do we have to supply this as like test telemetry feed? We were like saying add a session, create session end event. When we are running this test. When is the session end duration, session duration set? If there was a visibility event received timestamp. Create session, it should create a valid event. We pass it a fake UID. Objects will create a ping and the session duration. So when you pass it, this session, so this add session thing, session duration, who sets that? Here, when we end the session, end session, add session, is this maybe something that wasn't being tested before? If I look at session duration for the old schemas, session duration is not listed as required, is it? Session duration, session, ping, session duration, type integer. But in this case, it's undefined. Oh. I wonder if we want to, like, before we... This might be a difference in how these things are tested. Like, when we validate, I wonder if we want to, like, cull the empty items. So how do these validators work? JSON schema validator. Short circuit? What is that? JSON schema validator. Validator. Create a new validator. Whether or not the validation should return after a single error occurs. And instance against known schemas. Validate. Options for the validator. Draft validate against. I think I basically need to look at what was being done in the in the old test, like the way that GOI, that's the old schema definition that we were using in pings.js before I started converting this. Session duration. Does it allow for... Basically what I want to know is, does it accept undefined as any properties when they come in? If so, then I think... Here, like if I delete ping.session duration, does this pass? I guess that's my next question. Yes, it does. Okay, so I think what I need to do is examine what the old test was doing, but I'm going to do that offline. I think I've really I've overrun here by about 15 minutes. I'm going to end the stream here. Hey, thanks for watching episode 349 of The Joy of Coding. We've got episode 350 next week. You know what? Maybe we'll look at the Safari thing. Maybe that's an interesting thing to do for 350. I'll try and get access to a machine that's got Sonoma on it and try and use that. Maybe I'll even update my OS before then. Let me know. You can let me know by rating this episode. There's a form right at the bottom here, and you can let me know what you'd like to see for episode 350. Or maybe we'll do the jump list stuff, or maybe we'll do something completely different. Let me know. I'm going to put a link again to rate this episode in the chat. Let me know what to do for 350, and I'll read everything that comes in. And I'll hopefully see you next week. Take care, everybody. Have yourselves a great week. And, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon. Bye.